not once, Joe, in my entire life have I said, if I get on my phone and I'm like, hey, or if I'm not even on my phone, if I'm just like, hey, I want a jet ski. I'm thinking about getting a jet ski. And then the next time you get out your phone, you get an ad for a jet ski, right? But not once in my life have I been like, oh, like, submersibles are very interesting to me. Like, I want to go see the fucking Titanic. How was that story everywhere?
Well, because the people that were involved were very wealthy. And when wealthy people do stupid shit, we have a certain sense of glee. Like when some wealthy billionaire wants to take a rocket into space and it blows up, people will be like, ha ha. There's a part of that.
Right.
There's definitely a part of ha ha. If you are a person who gets to watch people do something that you think is really fucking stupid, like get into an unproven watercraft
with a GameCube controller
that's had people resign because of safety concerns.
Right.
That's one of those things where when people die like that, people enjoy watching it. They enjoy paying attention to it.
Weird?
It's weird.
They enjoy.
But it's also fear. It's the fear of the actual experience of being that person, because you could imagine it. You could imagine if you had been talked into it somehow. Everybody says it's totally safe.
Right.
Don't worry. And you're like, okay, let's do it. And then you're down there in the ocean, and then you hear a crack.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
but those
Jesus.
guys, they died so fast.
Supposedly.
Okay.
Yeah, what I heard is that something failed and it plummeted, and that as it was plummeting, they probably knew they were dying as it was plummeting into the ocean. And then
because the actual collapse would be,
bro, Jesus Christ,
tenths of a second. No, is what they said.
Imagine the force behind that weight, all that water. If the clouds are 1,000,000 pounds, a cloud, it's floating in the sky and it's 1,000,000 pounds.
All that shit around you.
You're 4,000 feet deep in the ocean.
That's fucking crazy.
Boom. It's just pink mist.
By the year 2000, computers will invade our privacy on a scale hardly imaginable. They will be interconnected, and unless prevented by new legislation, will be able to sell information on where we travel, how much we spend, and in what restaurants and hotels, whether and when we pay our bills, what our neighbors say about our drinking habits, what we do with our evenings, and with whom. Computers record, dispose, operate, regulate, solve, devise, predict, explain, translate. It is the computer, more than any other development, which has allowed man to travel into space. To Edward Friedkin of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, there is almost no limit to what it can do.
In the near future, we're going to see computers and machines that use computers as parts of the machines being able to do more and more interesting things. And one good example of that would be a little household robot that would be very helpful to have in the home. Now, you might say, well, who would want such a household robot? My guess is that almost every family that has a home would like one of these once they understood how good it could be.
Beneath the crust, below the mantle, and underneath the molten core is the hot, dense, solid inner core of our planet.
Can't drill straight down to the Earth's center. It's around 3,000 kilometers through the mantle just to the outer core. But scientists at Peking University in China found that seismic waves from earthquakes showed the Earth's core rotating, but also slowing down, and that it stopped just over 10 years ago. and appears to be picking up speed, rotating now in the other direction. So what could that mean for the magnetic forces in and around the Earth?
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that there are minor signs and there are major signs. Now, the minor signs, some of the scholars told us that all of them came to pass. We have witnessed all of the minor signs. Now, the concern of this presentation is about some of the 10 major signs of the approach of the hour. 5 of those 10 seem to be cosmic in nature, that they are related to certain happenings that are related to the cosmos, certain universal happenings that will take place that will tell us that the hour is approaching. And one of them is that the sun will appear from the west instead of the east. We have known that for years and years and years. And we were told that the sun will appear from the west as a sign that the hour is approaching. Again, I remind myself and I remind my sisters and brothers that whatever I will mention from science that people really put as the absolute truth when we know it is not, but what we know from science is the following. What is happening is that the Earth has been rotating around its axis since the creation of the universe. In the beginning, our Earth used to complete one complete circle around its axis in 4 hours. It used to be very fast, and it has been slowing down since then. Now it completes one rotation around its axis in 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds. And scientists know that the speed is going to diminish. The Earth is going to slow down up to a point where it will not be able to support any more decrease in its speed. When that will happen, the Earth will behave like a spring, that you rotate in a certain direction up to a certain point when you cannot really wind it any further in that direction. Then if you leave it, what will happen? It will start to rotate in the opposite direction. And the Earth is going to do that. That's what scientists tell us, that the Earth is going to slow and slow and slow up to a point where it cannot, because of its mass, slow any further. Then it will stop briefly and will start to rotate in a clockwise fashion. And guess what will happen when that takes place? The sun will appear from the west. And the hadith related through the authority of Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam about this is very clear. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam is reported to have said that when the hour approaches, 2 nights will join each other and the people will wake up from the first night to see that the night is not over yet. And they will be terrified and they will be scared and they will find that the sun did not come out. And another night came, and then 2 nights will appear in a row. And then after that, the sun will appear again, but this time it will come from the west instead of the east.
When that sign is seen, everybody will believe. Prophet ﷺ said, Qiyamah will not occur until the sun rises from the west. And when the people see it, they will all believe. Then he recited this verse, that when they see some of the signs of their Lord, it will not matter if they believe at that time. In another hadith in Abu Dawood, the Prophet ﷺ said that the first of the signs will be the rising of the sun from the west, and right after it, at duha time. Duha is before dhuhr, 9 to 11 o'clock, mashallah, depends on where you're living. The Prophet ﷺ said, the first of these signs will be the rising of the sun from the west, then right after at ad-duha, the dabba will come, the beast will come. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whichever of these comes, the next one will follow immediately. In other words, maybe the dabba will come at duha and the sun will come from the west the next day. Or maybe the sun will come from the west and the same day, because that's going to be the Fajr time, the same day the beast will come. So there are at least 6 or 7 ahadith, 3 of them at least in Bukhari and Muslim, that mention the sun rising from the west. This is something where, frankly, our minds have no majal. It is explicit, it is authentic, and so sami'na wa ata'na. You cannot make a reinterpretation, it's pretty clear. The Quran is saying, when they see this sign, iman is of no use. This means what? This is a sign that is simply beyond question. It's like the magicians of Fir'aun when they saw the staff become a snake. This is a sign, this cannot be magic. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why there is no point of a person accepting. It's too late. It's not going to be accepted of you. And as our Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will accept the tawbah of any person until he sees the angel of death. Right? So when you see the angel of death, that is it is gone, there is no. Now, another hadith says, Allah will accept the tawbah of any person until the sun rises from the west. So there clearly is an indication that the sun shall rise from that portion, and it will be something that is manifest and clear. This is not normal, and this is going to be the final day, and everything is going to come to an end. So this is the issue of the sun rising from the west.
Exploring an abandoned home in the woods when this was captured.
Doesn't that look like an early settlement style chimney there?
It does.
What's interesting is the chimney looks like an older style than the house looks.
I'm thinking that this was probably built in the early 1900s.
Child spoon. Well, that's cool. How old do you reckon that is?
That's old. It's not silver, it's brass, silver plated.
Look. Look at the entire stump. Wow. Look at that.
Petrified.
Yeah, it is just about petrified, ain't it?
Sure is.
Looks like it was cut down, I guess, with an axe. Let me set the light down. I'm gonna touch it. This is an old tree right here. That's for sure.
At one point, either this was a one-room house or it was a two-room house with a dog trot the whole way down the middle. It's kind of hard to tell from here. It's been a lot of pillows replaced under here.
Yeah.
A lot of floor supports.
So that's a 1958 Coke bottle, right?
What is that?
Oh, that's weird. Here. That is strange. You heard that, right, Dan?
Yes, I did. Not funny at all.
No, not cool. Not cool. I told you this place felt creepy. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. So I hope you guys have...
Hey, good morning. Now, I've been sitting on this one since May. In order to get a better understanding of what's going on between Israel and Palestine, we have to look at the involvement of these 4 entities and others to be named later. I'm talking about Abraham, Moses, Joshua, and the British. Of course the British, because the British have been involved in everything bad that has happened in the world since the 1600s. Matter of fact, hey John, tell us how the British got involved. And while he's doing that, I'm going to start with Abraham. Who is he? Well, for starters, he's the patriarch of the big three religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Some say he's a prophet, while others say he never existed. Some say he was a single entity, while others say he's an amalgamation of a few. Some say he was the first Israelite. Others say he wasn't an Israelite because Israel as a person and a place didn't exist until long after his death. Some say he was the first Jew, while others say he couldn't have been the first Jew because Jews get their name from Judea, and Judea is named after Judah, his great-grandson who was born long after he died. Say he was the first Hebrew, while others say he couldn't have been the first Hebrew because during his day, Hebrews didn't exist as a race, nationality, or ethnicity. It was a designation that was put upon them by other people. Because according to the Assyrian Dictionary of the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago, Hebrew has its origins in the Sumerian word Ibiru, which means to cross over, to stretch over, to lie across, to make to cross, to bring across. To cross over, to go to the other side, to go through, to stretch over, to lie across, to make to cross, to get someone something across, to bring. And according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, it could be derived from the word eber or ever, a Hebrew word meaning the other side, and conceivably referring again to Abraham, who crossed into the land of Canaan from the other side of the Euphrates or the Jordan River. It could also be related to the semi-nomadic Habiru people, who were recorded in ancient Egyptian inscriptions. In Abraham's day, a Hebrew was a designation to anybody who came from over yonder who crossed the river to come over here who wasn't from here originally. Today, Hebrew refers to any member of an ancient northern Semitic people that were ancestors of the Jews. So who was Abraham? Abraham was the son of Terah, the sixth great-grandson of Shem, who was the son of Noah. Abraham was born in the city of Ur in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is Greek for between rivers. In Abraham's day, which was a couple hundred years after the fall of the Tower of Babel, this area was known as Sumer, making Abraham a Sumerian. The area was also known as Assyria and Babylonia, which means Abraham spoke Sumerian, Assyrian, Babylonian, and whatever language Noah spoke, since Noah died when Abraham was about 60, 70, 80 years old. Not only that, more than likely he wrote in cuneiform. Now Abraham's daddy, Terah, was a priest who was responsible for making idols for the moon goddess. Abraham's daddy also had 3 sons, Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Now Abraham married Sarah, and they ain't have no kids. Haran had 3 kids, a son and 2 daughters. His son was Lot, but Haran died. And Nahor married his niece, Lot's sister. Now that we've set the stage, here's where the story takes place. When Abraham was about 75 years old, Terah took his whole household from Ur in modern-day Iraq up 700 miles to Haran in modern-day Turkey. Haran was an important pilgrimage site for those who worship the moon god. And it was there, while living in Haran, that Abraham received his manifest destiny from a God he didn't know. In Genesis 12, this unknown God spoke to Abraham and said, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's house to the land that I'll show you. And I'll make you into a great nation, and I'm going to bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the people on earth will be blessed through you." So Abraham went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and all the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. So Abraham traveled through the land as far to the side as the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. And at that time, the Canaanites were already in the land. So the Lord appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." What does that mean? It means that at 75 years old, Abraham, his wife, his nephew Lot, all of their possessions, all of their sheep, all of their cattle, all of the people who were living and working in his household, and all of the people he enslaved, left Haran, traveled 700 miles to settle in Shechem, in a land they had never been to, a land they were unfamiliar with, so that Abraham's descendants could inherit the land from the people who were already living there. He did so because he trusted an unknown God who told him that his manifest destiny would be for his descendants to inherit the land and take it from the people who were already living there. And this is how Abraham became involved in all this, because he and a couple thousand people from his household traveled over 1,400 miles to settle an area so that his descendants can take the land from the people who were already living there. Now, after completing this 1,400-mile journey to Shechem, when he got there, there was a famine in the land, so he had to travel another 800 miles to Egypt to get supplies and food. And while there, he lied to the authorities about his sexy wife being just his sister, and he was treated well because of it. Pharaoh gave him sheep, cattle, male and female donkeys, and male and female slaves, and camels. But because of that, Pharaoh got sick, found out he lied, kicked him out of Egypt, and sent him on his way with everything he had. So after they got kicked out of Egypt, they left and went and lived in the desert with all their riches. And after leaving the desert, they went to a place called Bethel, where he had lived earlier after leaving Shechem. And it was at this point that Abraham and Lot had beef with one another, because the land couldn't support all the thousands of people that traveled with them, including the animals that traveled with them. It goes on to say that the Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in that land at the time. So it just couldn't support all them people. So Abraham said, you go your way, I go mine, and we make peace. So how do we know Abraham and Lot were traveling with thousands of people apiece? Because when a war broke out in the area and Lot was captured, Abraham found out about it and took 318 trained men who were born in his household to fight him and get Lot back. Now, each one of those 318 men had at least 2 parents apiece and 2 kids apiece. That's about 1,200 people right there. That does not include his shepherds, the people who were herding his cattle, or the people who were taking care of his camels, or the people that Abraham and Lot enslaved. That's just the parents of the 318 fighting men born in Abraham's house that he used to go get Lot when Lot got captured. Skipping some things here and there, after Abraham got Lot back, he fell asleep. And while he was asleep, this unknown God told him, to your descendants, I will give this land from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river Euphrates. I'm going to give you the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Kadamites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Raphites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. That was Abraham's manifest destiny, that he would become the father of many nations, and that his descendants were destined by God to expand and spread everywhere, from Egypt to Turkey to Syria and beyond. That was Abraham's manifest destiny. So after living in Canaan for 10 years, Abraham had his first son with his wife's slave at 86 years old. They named him Ishmael. After they sent him away, he grew up to have 12 sons of his own. He became the father of the Ishmaelites, the Adonites, Arabs. Fast forward 14 years, and Abraham and Sarah have a son named Isaac. After Isaac was born, God told Abraham that the whole land of Canaan, where you now reside as a foreigner, I will give as an everlasting possession to you and your descendants after you, and I will be their God. In short, Abraham became involved in all this when he traveled over 1,400 miles to settle an area so that his descendants can commit genocide against the people living there and take their lands. And that's how Abraham got all this started. Up next, Moses.
You really believe this was built with hammer and chisel?
McDonald's having a big M and them symbolizing the big M. I didn't think that was a big deal. Why would I? Or Marathon gas station or M&M's candy. I didn't think that was a big deal. Why would I? As I, started looking into numerology, I understood that M is 13, and that signifies homage to the 13 bloodline Illuminati families. It's all over the place. Go on your computers and put in all the movies that start with 13. 13 Warriors, 13 Ghosts. It's like 30 of them. Then start looking at Ladder 49 or 6 Days, 7 Nights. You know, this is a joke. I already mentioned the sports teams, the 76ers, 7-6, 13, 49ers. So it's all over if you look at it. And the system that's always in the court system, always in religion, always in astrology, it's all the same. It's 12 plus 1. 12 jurors, 1 judge, legally. Religious, Jesus, 12 apostles. Astrology, sun, 12 signs. Come on, it's everywhere. What do you think, this is a coincidence? But if you have enough up here to understand this is not a coincidence, that tells you people who know a lot more than you, if you want to be honest with yourself, are actually using this stuff. Start asking yourself why, start getting curious, and then things might start coming together for you.
We could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.
Hey my guy, I recently found your channel, subbed up immediately, which now has been 2 months, and if I may make a suggestion, I'm 45 years old, and like I said, I enjoy your content. I just kind of wish that we could do without the sexualization of women all the time. Like, I'm used to outspokenness, that it's 2024. We can do without that, if you don't mind, please, sir. Well, Amanda Witten, 8149, is this woman sexualizing herself? Or am I sexualizing her? Am I at fault because I'm looking at it? Am I some type of masher? Or is this woman just liberating herself from the patriarchy? You tell me.
So you want to charge your car, huh? Well, don't come here. You'll be here till 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's just the cars that are getting charged. And this is the line of the cars wanting to get charged. And this is the great hoax to get rid of gasoline so that you can go sit in a line and plug your car in. This isn't a joke. This is the real thing. It's 11:15 at night, and these are the people who probably, I guess, can't get home. And they're just sitting in their cars, and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Okay, so if that's true, if men are the enforcement mechanism, why does that then mean that women's equality is a bad idea?
Well, I didn't say it was a bad idea. I mean, it is, but what my position is that it's laughable that egalitarianism is even possible because women have no way to enforce their rights. They have to use men to enforce their rights. So since they have to use men to enforce their rights, they don't really have any rights because all the rights...
Well, I would have to disagree there and say women's rights comes from the creator, not from men. Men enforce it, but it comes from the creator.
But why does the notion of egalitarianism have to be predicated on physical strength, or like who gets to enforce it?
Well, what else could it be predicated on?
Principles of like what's best for society.
And what happens if somebody violates those principles?
Equal,
Sure.
like why would it be based off the enforcement?
What happens if somebody violates those principles?
What do you mean?
Well, so if you have a society in which you have laws and government and things like this and whatever social contracts you come up with, what happens if one side violates those principles, or a person or an individual or a group violates those principles? What would you do with them? You would, well, I would think arrest them maybe, or punish them, or do something punitive, or put them in prison or something like that. And so you're right back to the enforcement mechanism again. So there's really no way around it. The enforcement mechanism is from men, will always be from men. And so it's paradoxical to say that women can have equal rights, because even if they do have equal rights, it's just because men have allowed them to.
Why is nobody talking about this end of the world Bible prophecy? The Bible says that during the apocalypse, before the world ends, that there is going to be a 200 million man army. Those soldiers will be marching across the Euphrates River once it dries up. Well, this is the current state of that river. But that's not even the crazy part. Never before in history has a 200 million man army even been possible. Until now. China and Russia just made an alliance. Are you paying attention yet? The apocalypse is coming soon, and if you're not ready, then follow or subscribe so that you can learn more.
Se lo juro que había algo ahí. ¿Nos devolvemos? Créame que yo no lo juraba más. Hubiera visto algo. Es que yo iba pasando por acá y esa vuelta está destapada. No, cierre esa vuelta. No, cierre esa vuelta ahí. Ahí en la parte alta. ¡Perro, se lo vi!
You're about to witness the real footage of the Sallie House hauntings.
Oh, crap.
This story is about a demon disguised as a little girl.
There's a little girl that's standing right there.
Let's get into the story. Trigger warning because this is a very scary true ghost story. Everything from the evidence to the sound design to the storytelling, doing this to let you experience the fear that these families went through. So if that's not something that you want to see, then this video is not for you. But if you do like that, then this video is perfect. It's 1992 in a small town called Atchison in Kansas. And it is here where we find a beautiful house. This house was built in the 1800s, and married couple Tony and Deborah Pinkman decide that they should move in. They just had a baby, so they built a nursery upstairs. But then the strange thing started happening. Doors flinging open. You take a picture of the door and something is floating in the doorway. The wax on their candles is going up. Not down with gravity, the wax is going up. The lights are flickering, and every picture that they try to take has these strange, blurry apparitions. Then they would discover the pentagram that resides in their basement. So at first, they just put up with this. But one night, Tony got home from work. As he walked upstairs to Deborah, he was suddenly hit by something that felt like a truck. It hit him so hard that he flew out of his laced boots. It then pinned him down to the ground. He was fighting to move, but he couldn't. And all Deborah could do was stand in silence because she was too scared to even scream. When Tony could finally stand, he felt his back burning. And that's when Deborah watched scratches form in front of her eyes. These would be the first of many that would scar him for life. And when this entity began to light fires on their newborn baby's clothing and items around the house, it became too much to bear. Later that night, they went to bed. But then they began to hear groaning and whispering. As they laid in the dark behind their heads from inside the wall, they would hear the tormented sounds of something. Then they would hear their door creak open, creak back shut. They could then feel the presence of something standing over them, and they wouldn't get any sleep. Then they would hear their baby cry, but they were so absolutely terrified that they couldn't even stand to check. It's not just the fact that something is in your room, it's the energy that it carries with it. They would make it through these horrible nights. And during the day, every time they walked up the stairs, they would pass through this electric energy that was so powerful it would burn your skin. You would hear the pops of static and then feel a slow burn as it carved up your back, leaving deep in scratches. Now, this story is going to have a part 2, and part 2 is absolutely crazy. The craziest paranormal evidence I've ever seen, because a crew comes over to investigate. A crew of skeptics, I might add. And they are all dumbfounded, because because as they talk to Deborah and Tony, they watch scratches form on his face. And everyone keeps getting shocked. As the cameramen walk around, their legs and hands are getting shocked. Words are getting carved into Tony. The things that they capture in audio and camera. This story is completely bizarre, and I am so excited to be sharing it with you guys. I'm just gonna leave it for part 2. Alright, I'll catch you later.
If the universe is really 13.8 billion years old, shouldn't there be aliens everywhere? And if not, why not? I think it was Carl Sagan who said that there's either a lot of aliens or no aliens. Either one is equally terrifying. Meaning if there are no aliens, then what we have here is very rare. Now, a lot of people ask me, like, what about the aliens? Have you seen any evidence of aliens? I've seen no evidence of aliens.
What about these Pentagon videos?
So, like, I mean, there's like advanced programs that the military has which are classified, and they wouldn't, so, you know, if they had like some really fast missile or something, even if somebody else in the military saw that, then they would still not tell them what it was because it's classified.
And then there's the weirdness that the jungle itself is actually man-made.
Whoa, hold on. I don't know about this.
You didn't know that?
No, tell me.
Yes. Most of the plants that are overwhelming the rainforest are from agriculture. They're
from ancient civilizations.
Yeah, I think it's like the ice cream bean tree and a bunch of other different trees. But these trees were all trees that had been grown. Yes, it is actually man-made. One of thousands of earthworks built by remarkable but little-known ancient societies. The Amazon, prior to the arrival of Europeans in the Americas in 1492, is commonly depicted as a pristine wilderness dotted with small, simple communities. The supposedly pristine, untouched Amazon rainforest was actually shaped by humans. Over thousands of years, native people played a strong role in molding the ecology of this vast wilderness. So these trees that overwhelm the rainforest, they were planted.
You know, when somebody says that, you know, the founders wanted America to be a Christian country, I have to challenge that. It's not true.
Well, I mean, if you look back into history, it kind of looks that way, actually.
Twice in the Constitution. In the Constitution, Josh, twice it says once there should be no religious test for office, and once that freedom of religion, and including freedom from religion, shall be absolute. I mean, you know, you've got the Establishment Clause and you've got the First Amendment to the Constitution.
Everywhere you look in America, even on our money, statues, it talks about God, or everywhere.
Well, that was in 1956. In God We Trust was put on our coins by Dwight Eisenhower in response to pressure from the John Birch Society to defy the godless communists in the Soviet Union. You're right. In God We Trust is on our money. But the founders never put it on our money. They put a goddess on our money. They invented a goddess. I mean, that's as pagan as you can get. The founder, Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, and there was another one, maybe it was George Mason. There were three of them. They got together and they said, you know, America has, because they were modeling the American Republic on the Greek democracy and the Roman Republic, right? And they said, you know, the Greeks had gods and goddesses, the Romans had gods and goddesses. We have gods, male gods, right? The religion, the Christian and Jewish gods, but we have no goddesses. So let's invent a goddess for the United States. And they literally invented a goddess out of whole cloth. They named her after the guy who discovered the continent, Columbus. And they put her on the top of the Capitol building. They said that no building in Washington, D.C. could be taller than her head. Her name is Columbia. Columbia Rising, you know, they put her on our currency. She has been on the Columbia walking silver dollar was minted right up until the 1980s. Reagan was the one who took the goddess off our currency. 200 years of that, Josh. She's in front of the the Department of Justice. John Ashcroft covered up her naked breast, remember, famously? She's out there with a blindfold and the scales. She's in front of the Defense Department, in one hand holding a shield and another hand holding a quiver or a bundle of arrows. She's in front of the Agriculture Department with scythe, you know, to harvest wheat. Every department uses the goddess. She's on our flags. They named the center of government for the United States after the goddess. They said and this district is going to be dedicated to Columbia, the goddess, the District of Columbia.
And nobody's saying shit. Those are the angels. Why isn't anyone? Shh. Yeah, look. Hey, my phone's shitty. I can't even. Bitch, what the fuck? Dude, they're moving around. Yeah, that's fucking creepy, dog. What the fuck is that?
You need to get the boys. Did the kids come out to look?
Yeah, like how did that
Did you see it though when it was over here? It looked so crazy. It looked like it's on fire.
It is. Here.
I don't think that's it. That sound comes from over there.
That's the noise, isn't it?
What the heck? Look at it, boy. Look at it.
Probably eat on. They really just made a hole in the front. Look.
Look at it. That don't even look normal.
It really looks like a hole in the.
It's like it turned into a spirit. Here.
It's not pollen or nectar he's after. These are some of the only carnivorous caterpillars on the planet. He latches onto the branch with his rear prolegs and waits for a victim to come close. With 6 front tarsal claws ready to snatch his prey, he sits perfectly still until something triggers his rear sensory bristles. Faster than the blink of an eye, he eats his prey alive.
La madre, ¿qué chingos es eso? Válgame la Virgen Santísima, pues ¿qué es eso, José? Mira. ¿Qué es eso? Se está partiendo el pinche ¡ay, hijos de su chingada madre! Mira, No, pues está Está cabrón, este pinche pedo está medio raro, ¿no?
Something crazy about the Matthew Perry memoir is he admits to making a Faustian prayer with God in order to become famous. Perry said that 3 weeks before the Friends audition, he got on his knees and told God, "You can do anything you want to me, just make me famous." He says, quote, "3 weeks later, I got cast in Friends, and God has certainly kept his side of the bargain. But the Almighty, being the Almighty, had not forgotten the first part of the prayer as well." He goes on to admit that Faustian prayer that I made was a stupid one, the one of a child. It was not based on anything real, but it became real. A Faustian bargain is a pact that a person makes, selling their soul for a worldly good or material, such as riches, fame, wealth. The Faustian bargain is also called the deal with the devil. In an interview with Bill Maher, Matthew Perry said that he believes in a higher power and that he has a close relationship with him.
I know that once you've referred to it as a force, and you know, I believe that. I believe that a higher power. There is a higher power.
Right.
I believe I've got a very close relationship with him. That's helped me a lot. And
somebody's on your side.
Yeah.
Matthew Perry admitted that everything is in this memoir. He didn't leave anything out. And one of the more interesting things is that the last chapter of his memoir is titled Batman. And his last Instagram posts were all about Batman, leading up to the end of his life.
I mean, all that tells me is that Chandler knew it was his time to go. We don't know this isn't what happened in Hawaii and Chile and various other places around the world if people don't have the right color roof. But stay tuned afterwards and I'll have the special Lahaina 11 t-shirts. You gotta make your money even though it's a tragedy. No, but seriously, we're fucked.
So can we talk about this creepy video that came out of Mexico? So this TikToker that works security explains how he's seen and felt things that he can't explain. But at 3:20 in the morning after securing the building, he sees something. But he just can't quite catch it on camera. That is, until he does. And viewers were quick to point out that it looks like it disappears. But let me know what you think.
No, ya no se va a ver nada. Ya no se va a ver nada porque lo que se mira acá de este lado es la pantalla que está prendida. Ahí arriba, esa. De ahí en más, pues estoy solo, les digo, estoy todo solo ahorita. Solo. Y ahorita vi algo allá en la entrada de clientes. Hasta allá, hasta lo último. Y lo vi clarito. Ya lo vi otra vez. A ver si se alcanza a ver. No, me da miedo ir. A eso que se mira ahí. Eso negro que se ve ahí. Miren, ya se movió. ¡Oh! Está caminando, de hecho hasta que no manches. Y se sigue moviendo. Es una persona, claro está que miren. No. Vámonos.
This is a wig. You see them wearing it in court. Okay, this wig, this artificial wig, is not there as a substitute for your hair. It is there, and ask any religious person, it's there to hide your wicked thoughts or their wicked thoughts from our Creator. Because no man can stand judgment over another. So in order to do that, they put the wig on so God may not see their wicked thoughts. As absurd as it is, that's what they believe. That's why they would change words like creator to God, because God is not a creator, it's a creation of man. The word is creator, and this is creation. We live in creation, irrespective of whether that's of a principle of evolution or not. We're dealing with a creator and creation. So they put this on because they're about to play, and I know it looks comical, and ladies and gentlemen, it is comical. So why should you tolerate this? So if I'm wearing this, I'm essentially hiding my thoughts from my Creator for the ills that I'm going to do you. And sometimes when you don't see the judges wearing these things, you will find on top of where they are, there's a canopy. And that canopy acts as a way that the wig does. The clerks and the courts are run by the church on church lands, as Northampton County Court is. But it's not a county court, it's a business centre, pretending, and it's on church lands. When you go into court, what do they ask you to do? Take your cap off, your head. Anything that's on your head, they ask you to take it off or you can't come in. Yet they wear it. Isn't that called hypocrisy? Because they don't want you to hide your thoughts from the Creator. Do you see how in-depth, ladies and gentlemen, it's going and how hypocritical it's going? I can go on and on about this. Do you know what this ponytail is, ladies and gentlemen? Do you know what it is? It's what the male witches wear. What is it called? A warlock. What does warlock mean? It means warfare, warring, worship, worship. The continuation of the evidence with the words supports the bureaucracy and the mechanisms that they are using. I have shown you an opening into their world. It's up to you not to tolerate these things. It's an absurdity to think such a thing can happen. Now let me go on to the cape, or the robe that they wear. Give me a few seconds to put it on. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the mourning robe. The mourning robe is to show respect for the dead. Because when they bring you into court, or when the governments write to you, or the county coroner has a record of you, in all capitals, it means you're dead. And they call you as dead people. And hence when they ask you to all rise, and how many times have you seen that in voodoo shows? How many times have you seen that in James Bond, when they tap with a sword on the gravestone and say all rise? How many times have you seen that happening with sirs and lords when the Queen taps them on their shoulder, giving them life? It's necromancy, ladies and gentlemen. Rituals of the dead. This is purple, and they wear a purple scarf on times of Lent and Advent, once again telling you it's a religious ritual, a rite, R-I-T-E, and is there to signify sorrow and suffering. You're there to suffer and show sorrow. For what, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. The white is to show purity. Full stop. So it casts no shadows. But it's only a sliver. Nothing else. Everything else is an open advertisement that they are speaking to the dead. You don't need to tolerate it. You know that you're a man and woman, and that you know you're flesh and blood. Once you've understood this, all of this garbage don't mean nothing. When you go into hospital next time, tell the nurses and the doctors not to ever write your name in all capitals, because you're not dead. Okay? You understand the significance of what I have said. You're there to be safe and protected, and not to be treated as dead people. The time and the days of these rites have long gone, thanks to David Way Miller. And it is the general public's ignorance that keeps it going. Ignorance that was engineered into you, because that's how they make their living. All parasites cannot make a living by themselves, because they have no life outside of their host. Thank you very much for listening to me, folks. And I'm so sorry it was so somber and so straightforward. But these are the facts that is standing right before you. Do some rudimentary searches and you will be qualifying yourself like very few people on this planet ever bothered to do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I imagine there are hundreds of satellites that have interactions with the ionosphere. They're all doing their own local modification of the ionosphere.
They discovered they were actually burning a hole in the ionosphere and the signal was being shot off into space. They also noticed that the area of the ionospheric hole had an effect on approaching weather fronts.
They're all creating their own holes.
HAARP's combined antennae generate a focused billion-watt high-frequency radio beam, which penetrates the lower ionosphere and interacts with the currents of the auroral electrojet. During this modification, this pulsing beam stimulates the ionosphere, creating ELF waves which can move great distances through the lower atmosphere.
It's instead of the radio frequency energy dissipating as it goes up from the antenna array, it's actually focused. And the larger the antenna array, the higher they can focus the energy. And once they get the energy up into the ionosphere, depending on what they want to do, they can create a secondary frequency causing the ionosphere to vibrate, sending that signal back down to the Earth.
If you've walked around downtown San Francisco, right near the ex-FKA Twitter headquarters, it's a zombie apocalypse. I mean, it's rough. Have you been in that area?
Not lately. No.
Yeah.
I've heard.
It's crazy.
I've heard it's crazy. I've heard you really can't believe it until you actually go there.
You can't believe it until you go there. So now you have to say, well, what philosophy led to that outcome? And that philosophy was being piped to Earth.
Somebody found it much later and started playing around with it. A lot of the stuff in Egypt in the dynastic era was already there when the dynastic era started. So a lot of the things that are really super megalithic and really old were there. They inherited those things. If you go to Mexico, where the Teotihuacan complex is located, which is a mirror of the Giza plateau with the three pyramids aligning with Orion, the pyramid of the sun, pyramid of the moon, and so forth, those structures were there before the Mayans got there. And even the Mexicans will tell you that the Mayans inherited what was, they built nothing. They even teach that in the university. They built nothing. Matter of fact, the Mayans didn't know who built that stuff, so they named them Teotihuacan. That's where the name came from. But when you go to the ancient text, you find out who built it. Thoth the Atlantean, who ruled over the land of Kem, ancient Egypt, he left because he was battling with his brother Marduk in the Bible. But Marduk is also known to the Egyptians as Amun-Ra. This is why people say amen at the end of every prayer. He's the one who said, at the end of every giving thanks, you say my name. That's where amen comes from. He left because of battling with his brother, and he went to Mesoamerica, and he took Olmecs with him, and they kickstarted and built the Teotihuacan civilization.
If you think of all the crimes that presidents have committed, the idea that this is what one of them is actually going to go down for is insane. Like, Bush instituted torture. Obama murdered American citizens without charges. These guys lied us into wars. By the way, every war is illegal. Only Congress can declare war. The last declared war was World War II. Every war since then has been an illegal war. So you know that thing in Vietnam? It probably smelled like a war to you, but no, not a war. Korea wasn't a war, Iraq wasn't a war, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, none of those were wars. If there was any political will, any one of these presidents could be arrested for any number of crimes. James Clapper, you know, he was the director of national intelligence. That's the highest position in the deep state. You're the CIA answers to you. And he lied to Congress very blatantly. He was asked point blank, is the NSA involved in any bulk data collection on American citizens? He said no. Then Ed Snowden came out and exposed that he clearly was. And he was the DNI, like he knew this, okay? He lied to Congress. Why isn't he arrested for it? He's of the deep state. He's one of the top guys. He's not getting arrested.
Did you know that there's about to be a floating AI platform in the ocean with over 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs that could be considered a sovereign nation? Meet the Blue Sea Frontier Compute Cluster, a concept proposed by a company named AR Corp. The goal is a massive floating computer that can sit in international waters, move anywhere in the world, and will be used to deploy the next generation of large-scale AI models, free from government regulation. The call comes from the Biden administration's recent AI executive order and the EU's AI Act, aimed at centralizing AI control under the guise of safety. The compute cluster will be equipped with over 10,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs per platform, cooled by using deep-sea currents, and powered by both solar and steam and gas turbines. The complex will come equipped with its own nation-state military force, as well as defenses such as electronic jamming equipment, optical and thermal camouflage, and aerial surveillance. So, what's your opinion of this massive complex?
Many of you have asked me to take a look at this footage again because you say I missed something when I first showed it. And holy cow, you were right. Remember, this woman was out for a run when this van followed her and then stopped right in front of her. But when you zoom in, you see just how serious this man was. As you can tell through the window, he was ready.
This van rode by me when I was on my drive, or I'm sorry, when I was on my run. And there they go speeding off. They went around the block, came up on me with the door open, with the side door open. I jumped this ditch and they stopped right there.
This happened in Maryland, so please be careful.
Animals you've never seen before. Spooky edition. Dracula's parrot. This Akatsuki colorway with wings is found one place in the world, and it's in the rainforest of New Guinea. Shout out to New Guinea. And despite looking like a pigeon cosplaying as a vulture, they eat almost nothing but sticky figs. That's actually why they're bald in the face, because you can't mess up your feathers if you don't have any. Say what you will about Jada, but I bet she ain't seen a bad hair day in a minute. Volcano snail. It's part of the nonsense gate kept by the deep sea, with them having pool parties and hydrothermal vents more than a mile down. They even have a heat-resistant suit of armor to keep them from getting cooked, which they build by stealing iron sulfide from around them. Dope, right? Volcano sharks. No, I'm not kidding. In 2015, scientists found a population of sharks living inside an active volcano called Cavachi in the Pacific. One of the most active underwater volcanoes on the planet. The water's too hot and too acidic for most forms of life, but not only can the sharks handle it, the cloudy water actually makes it the perfect place for them to catch a body. Sharks are really older than the rings of Saturn and still find ways to surprise us. The more you know.
Some people think God created the universe. Some people think nothing created the universe, which is the funniest guess. And the nothing people make fun of the God people. They say God doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, maybe. But you know what definitely doesn't exist? Nothing. That's the defining characteristic of nothing, is that it doesn't exist. So what are we talking about? Either you think it's God, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove, or you think it's nothing, something you can't see, touch, taste, photograph, and science can't prove. But I think we can all agree, if your nothing sometimes spontaneously erupts into everything, that's a pretty goddamn magical fucking nothing, you guys. And ask the nothing people, what happens when you die? They'll tell you, nothing. You go into nothing. I'm like, you mean you merge back with your creator? That's heaven, bitch.
This is an old NASA video that just leaked of a UFO next to the space shuttle. That's something unidentified, it's flying, and it's an object. I'm not saying it's alien, but it definitely could be advanced military. Whatever it is, NASA's not telling us about it, the military ain't telling us about it, the politicians ain't telling us about it, the media ain't telling us about it, but me, Joe, right here with the giant cheese brain, is here to tell you about it. And this is definitely something different, and it's on camera for a long, long time. Lots of people saw it, no one will talk about it. There's something there, Booshkis. That's something there. What do you think it is? Do you think it could be alien? You think that NASA's working with the extraterrestrials? Do you think it's advanced technology they're not telling us about? Do you think it could be something else altogether? I'm not sure. I'm just asking the question. Look at that. Clear as day. Something that nobody's talking about. Shabadoo, Booshkis. Shabadoo.
Não, você não é aqui. Você vê uma coisa, minha filha, você não quer aquilo. Parece picadinho. Ah, drone. Mas Ju já sentou, minha filha. Um já sentou, igual estrela. O negócio no seu, meu filho. Eu subi no meio daquele negócio. Quando você subiu, deixa eu ver primeiro. Eu mostrei por onde eu ia subir. Vai levar ele para o Agora pra eu que é. Cadê? Vai embora, não tô lá, vai na chutada lá. Não sei.
Hey, bro, do you know what I don't get about LGBTQ, yeah? So it's like, so there's L, which is lesbian, which is gay. The G is gay. B, bisexual. Gay. If you tell me you're bisexual, yeah, I already know you like girls. So what you're telling me is you like guys. So you're gay, alright? So gay. So I'm saying that's 3 that are in G. Yeah, so the LGB should just be G. So it'll be G. All them G's will compress into one G. Let me tell you why trans is gay as well. Let's say you're a male that transitions to a female, yeah? So are you a female that's a lesbian? Like, do you still like girls? Or do you like men now? Either way, you're gay. Because as a man, now you've changed. You're either gay as a man or gay as a female. Either way, you're gay. You could be a trans male that becomes a female, but she likes women. But you're a woman, so you're a gay woman now. So that's gay. So the first 4 letters of LGBT is just gay. Then Q is queer, which is gay. So the whole thing's gay, man.
Yeah, anyway,
all right,
that's it. Inside, though.
The word pandemonium was coined by John Milton as the name of the capital city of hell in his 1667 book, Paradise Lost. It combines the Greek word pan, meaning all, and the Latin word daimon, which means spirit or demon. The literal translation is all spirits or demons. The word pandemic is very closely related, though it has a slightly different etymological origin. Also rooted in Greek, it is composed of the word pan and demos, which means people, thus equaling all people. The difference between pandemonium and pandemic lies in the meaning of the words demos and daimon. Demos represented the people, while daimon represented the guiding spirits, the intermediaries between the gods and the people. It's important to point out that daemon did not originally have an evil or demonic connotation. It referred to a divine principle or a lesser god. For the ancient Greek philosophers Socrates and Plato, the daimon served as an inner voice of guidance, comparable to a guardian angel. Over time, the usage of these words has evolved, but their roots offer insight into their true essence, as well as some parallels with current events. Both daimon and demos trace back to the Proto-Indo-European root da, meaning to divide or to distribute. This reflects the idea of mankind being divided between the material and the spiritual world, as if demos and daimon are 2 halves of the same whole, representing the human condition of body and soul. Interestingly, da also ties into the word demiurge. In Greek, the demiurgos literally translates as worker for the people. In the Gnostic belief, the demiurge is a being subordinate to the supreme being and is often portrayed as the creator of the physical world and the author of evil. The pandemic was truly one of pandemonium, as it affected all people and all spirits in ways that very few events have ever done before. The spiritual battle is real. It involves everyone, and it's out in the open now.
You chose men as being the enemy. 40 years later, 50 years later, you're 65 years old, single, not married, no kids. You're living in an apartment or a condo with a dog or a cat. That's all you ever talk about. And you're lonely and you're sitting there saying, I was wrong. Men are not the enemy. But guess what? That movement stole 50 years of your life. You know how painful that is?
Here is where your Hubble telescope images come from. A special purpose 747 airliner with a telescope attached called the Sophia. This is why the Hubble and the Sophia images are indistinguishable from each other. They come from the exact same place. And that place, my friends, is not in outer space, because space is not a real place.
7, press pound. To cancel, press star.
This is Mike. Mike, Miss Linsky?
Yes.
Miss Linsky, sorry about that. This is Robert Bassano. How are you? I'm a graduate student. I wanted to know if there was just a couple of questions you could help me out with some answers. I'm on you guys' website right now, and it's regarding Hubble.
Okay. Where are you with?
I'm a graduate student at university.
Okay. What?
I'm working on a math lab image processing toolbox application that processes a variety of images to determine the relation with other images that might have been manipulated or amended, or maybe it was to determine the original source. I have a half a dozen photos I took off of NASA's website for Hubble and Sophia, And when I ran them through MATLAB's image processing toolbox for comparative analysis, those images came from the same source. And it wasn't at 330 miles above the surface of the Earth.
This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story. This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story.
Look, you're wasting our time. You're not going to get us to not believe in evolution.
And why is that?
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because, Mr. Reynolds, science is a liar sometimes.
Oh, boy.
This is Aristotle, thought to be the smartest man on the planet. He believed that the Earth was the center of the universe, and everybody believed him because he was so smart. Until another smartest guy came around, Galileo, and he disproved that theory, making Aristotle and everybody else on Earth look like a bitch. Of course, Galileo then thought comets were an optical illusion, and there's no way that the moon could cause the ocean's tides. Everybody believed that because he was so smart. He was also wrong, making him and everyone else on Earth look like a bitch again. And then, best of all, Sir Isaac Newton gets born and blows everybody's nips off with his big brains. Of course, he also thought he could turn metal into gold and died eating mercury, making him yet another stupid bitch. Are you seeing a pattern?
No.
Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists on the planet. Only problem is, they kept being wrong. Sometimes.
Oh, this is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures. There are fossil records.
Oh, fossil records. I didn't even think about the fossil records. I guess I'll concede. Oh, wait, one more thing before I do, Mr. Reynolds. Have you seen these fossil records?
Have I? Huh?
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met. And you take their words as truth, based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. That's a false equivalency.
Just answer the question, Mr. Reynolds.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
I rest my case.
Oh, that got me. Yeah.
Frank, do you want me to?
Put me over.
Yeah, all right.
What?
Well, we're going on the fence. I mean, that's a shadow of a doubt.
You actually don't believe in evolution anymore?
I don't know. He created a reasonable doubt. He makes you sound like a stupid science bitch.
Yeah, you good.
Oh my God.
When police discovered a hidden underground tunnel inside a KFC franchise, they made a surprising discovery. The intriguing incident took place in St. Louis, Arizona. The closure of the restaurant has dismayed local residents because they think the taste of this KFC is quite good. However, a few months later, the police noticed that this closed KFC store has a good activity. So the police decided to take a look inside. I just walked into the back door of KFC, and they saw this incredible thing. They discovered a complex tunnel hidden inside the KFC building. When they reached the end of the tunnel, you wouldn't believe what they saw. It was unbelievable.
Check this out, y'all. This video is crazy. What do you expect? You hunt them, they hunt you. Wild beasts will be their graves.
Further. Faster.
Máquina, veremos la velocidad de esta onda muy larga.
I've been in rooms at the top of the top, which albums are prayed over demonically. Music is prayed over demonically. That goes out to the world, goes out to the radio stations, goes out to the public. And when you see that stuff and know that stuff, it's frightening.
What do you mean by that, Shane? Prayed over demonically?
Rituals, ceremonies to give light to the devil, to Satan. It's a satanic music industry. If you look at what the music is today, the industry is today, for all your Sam Smiths to your Dojo Cats to your Beyoncés they are so demonic, it's unbelievable. And we can't, it's in front of us. It's something that we kind of go, oh, it's just music. But it really isn't. It's absolutely taken over the world, taken over our children, and taken over everything that's coming to the times of world crisis.
Even Rey in Star Wars, or basically every single main female character in a Disney Star Wars series that was controlled and given the ability to exist by Kathleen Kennedy, for example, are all brunette white women who are better than their male counterparts. Which, when you look at these characters like Rey, Jyn Erso, even the lady in Solo whose name I forgot, not to mention the new Indiana Jones movie, they are at least characteristically similar to the person in charge of Star Wars when they were created. Kathleen Kennedy's abuse of Star Wars and Lucasfilm is not an accident. The characters made under her watchful eye are all deliberately designed to look and act how Kathleen Kennedy believes she is in her own head. They're all smart, capable women who don't need men to tell them what to do. And in turn, these characters all feel homogenous and uninspired because they are all like their creator made in their image. And in turn, these characters all feel homogenous and uninspired because they are like their creator made in her image. The quality of something like Star Wars has been well documented at this point online. It's gone from bad to worse in the past 10 years, and it's still declining. The Marvel Universe is also the same. These properties are all bastardized and contorted because they have embraced concepts like toxic feminism at their core.
Ideas of what to do with the new Prince Eric movie.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Well, then maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her name it gay!
Kathleen Kennedy is the endgame point of those innocent young girls in the Lego study. They, like Kennedy, don't see things for what they are and accept them, but instead can only relate and create things if they absolutely 100% look, act, and sound just like them. This is why so much media today is garbage, because it self-inserts across the board, and oftentimes it's done to eye-rolling affairs.
Y'all, please tell me y'all have seen this man's video. In case you haven't, I'm gonna tag him below. In the video, he's in a place in Oregon, and he sees what looks like a door in this mountain cliff face. This door. And it straight up does look like a door. So he said that when he first saw it, the door was open, and that he watched it close, and it looked like something was peering out at him. And this intrigued me so much. So I spent hours yesterday just digging into this in every way I knew how. So this is the location where he's at. These are the coordinates below. Now, he mentions in his video or in the hashtags, giants. He thinks there's giants in Oregon, which could be. But my first thought when I seen this, the Moon-Eyed People. I've talked about them before. These are the little people of Cherokee legend that live inside the mountains, and they only come out at night because they can't see very well in the daytime. And very similar to this legend is the legend of the Nunahi of Blood Mountain in Georgia. And there's a particular legend associated with that place that speaks of a door just like that one. A secret door that opens up into the interior of the mountain where this race of immortals live. In the Moon-Eyed People legend, they are spoken of as small, like dwarves or elves. But the Nunahi are described kind of like shapeshifters. They can appear small, they can appear as a normal-sized human or larger. And they can make themselves invisible. And they live in these subterranean cities inside mountains. So I had to dig really hard to try to find out, does Oregon have similar legends to these? And they do. I can't pronounce these names. I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna put it on the screen. But this is the name of the little people of the Cascade Mountains. And this particular spot in the Cascade Mountains, it's on Quartzville Drive, not far outside Sweet Home. The name of these little people, means ground people. They are said to dwell inside the heavily timbered peaks and ridges of the Cascade Mountains. They are described as small, about 2 feet tall, and can become invisible. But other than being small, they look like regular people, and they speak in a language that sounds like birdsong. They, like the Moon-Eyed people, are believed to only really come out at night, and they will call out to each other in what sounds like birdsong or whistling. And so it's said if you ever hear that in this area, you should never respond to it. Because if you answer it or try to follow them, they have the power to drive humans mad. Another tribe in Oregon speaks of another legendary race called the, which also means ground people or people of the ground. They're also said to reside inside the mountains and are described exactly the same, like legendary dwarves with supernatural abilities. And they are often referred to as baby feet. I guess in comparison to like Bigfoot. A lot of these baby feet legends have actually become obscure and lost to time. You can find references to them, but it's kind of hard now. But there's a few places in Oregon that legends of them are responsible for the name, like Baby Rock, Babyfoot Lake, Babyfoot Creek. And it's also said the baby feet come out at night. They call to each other in birdsong, and that they possess the power to drive humans crazy. And people that have encountered one often find later that they've lost several days' time. This is also common with the Nunahi legends in Georgia. These creatures or people or whatever are also said to uproot trees and throw large rocks, a lot like the Bigfoot legends. But they rip up the trees because they use them to build their homes inside the mountains. And so sometimes at night you will hear these loud booms and cracks and like small explosions. And it's these little people ripping up the trees. However, I'm not going to completely dismiss the giant thing, because in several stories related to Hollow Earth, giants are said to guard the doorways to protect these subterranean cities from people who may stumble across them. So when I was trying to find this on Google Maps, I didn't actually know where it was. So it took me a while to find it. But in the process, I think I accidentally found another door right here. And do you see it? It looks a lot like the first one. Is that not a second door? So my question now is, has anybody seen this one? Is it open too? Are they connected? Because that looks like a door to y'all, right? Just like the first one. I don't know, but I really wish somebody would go knock on both of these doors and just see what happens. However, it is said that there are other entrances like these all over the world. Doors that lead to a world underneath our own. But what's odd is that over time, a lot of the locations where some of these rumored doors are supposed to be are now occupied by military bases, or declared off limits by the government, or monitored by some kind of officials. And the guy that posted the original video did a couple updates and said something about the military possibly following him. So if any of y'all go check this out, and I hope you do, just be careful. Don't answer any whistles and stay away from the military, because I don't want none of y'all going missing. I would feel really bad, but I really want to know if that door opens and what's behind it.
Ooh, this is for everybody who does not believe that the government can control the weather. This is going to full send you into oblivion, and I am here for it. Scientists are creating an artificial aurora in the sky to conduct experiments. Okay, let's get into it. So this Saturday, November 11th, the HARP Research Facility in Alaska will create this phenomenon in the sky that will last 4 days. Going to be setting off high-frequency radio waves in the ionosphere in order to conduct these experiments. And like the vagueness of all of it makes me feel like it's just prime time for Project Bluebeam, you know? The way that these experiments are going to be working is they're sending high-frequency radio pulses that will excite electrons in the ionosphere, which is basically the same thing that the natural northern lights do. But the revolutionary experiments are being conducted by UAF and many other out-of-state research programs. Is that weird to anybody else? Scientists will investigate the ionosphere mechanisms that cause optical emissions, Bluebeam, and they'll investigate how satellites can use plasma waves in the ionosphere for collision detection and avoidance. The thing that I find super convenient is that there's also been a lot of solar flares and one massive one that's set to hit Earth on Saturday, which just so happens to be at the same exact time that they're setting off all of these experiments. It just seems a little too convenient to me. So what do you think? Is this going to be a 100% natural phenomenon? Are they going to be doing both at the same time? Or is this solely created by our own government HARP facilities? Please let me know what you think about all of this down below.
There's this documentary that came out and it was all about unrelated identical twins. They like brought in 10 or so people that literally looked identical twins, but they're not related at all.
Doppelganger.
They're doing a face scanning and like their faces would like match up like 90%. They also said it's estimated that with every face, there are 7 matches in the world.
Wow.
So there's like 6 of you in the world that look like you.
So we're not even unique.
No, apparently not.
That's wild.
I guess it kind of makes sense though. Have you seen those like celebrities like Nicolas Cage? How he like there's a guy from like, way back and it looks just like him.
I know. Yeah.
And how Taylor Swift looks like the satanic leader.
Ooh, spooky.
Like it looks a lot like her.
Guys, that can't be a coincidence.
All the Swifties out there.
Would you be able to
Is this proof that we live in a simulation? Pay very close attention to this guy's jersey. The number on the back of his jersey goes from 18 to a question mark and a J to 21. I don't believe this is some sort of optical illusion either, because clearly it isn't 18 here, then question mark J, and then 21. Many people point to videos like this as proof that the simulation is completely real, and many scientists believe that there's a 50-50 chance that we are currently living in a simulation of some sort. So is this just some lag or coding in the simulation? Or is there another way to explain what exactly is going on in this video? Have you ever witnessed anything like this before? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and follow for more creepy content.
Who says there's no such thing as a flying saucer? This solid metal plate is floating in midair. No strings or wires holding it up. And no supports underneath. Pretty tricky, huh? Actually, this is how it works. These are large electromagnets. When the current goes through them, they create a strong magnetic field which supports the plate in much the same way that water supports a cork. And with the General Electric electromagnetic levitator, it's now possible to suspend objects in midair without any sort of visible support. General Electric engineers have used this principle in developing a new kind of GE watt-hour meter. That's the device you have in your home to tell you how much electricity you've used. Inside is a disc like this. And it spins around in a small magnetic field with virtually no friction at all. General Electric scientists hope to develop other frictionless bearings, machine bearings that may never wear out, all based on this same principle.
As you can see behind me here, we have a few gravestones, but what you can't see because it's dark out, and as you can see behind me here, we
Nem 4 horas ainda, velho. Dá tempo de ir pra Lençóis e voltar pra Bauru ainda. Olha isso, velho. Olha isso. Outra puta, você não tem que ver onde o Zu vai buscar isso aqui, velho. Você não tá vendo nada aí, filho. Você tem que ver aqui na máquina. Ô, Rafa, tá virando, velho. Puta que pariu, velho.
Mira eso. ¿Qué es eso?
Now here is a video with irrefutable proof of demons at work. Now watch closely. Performing such a feat defies gravity, something scientifically and physically impossible. Here is where it gets really interesting. Look closely. Do you notice that black shadow or demon behind him? Again, performing this is totally impossible without the help of an entity. Did you see it? The demon has been behind, assisting him all the while. Climbing up invisible steps? Just how did he do this? Can you make out that translucent pair of black hands catching him? So, how did this little boy pull off all of these impressive stunts? Is he dabbling with black arts and demons? The ending is really interesting as the demon finally shows itself. So, is this demons at work? As always, you decide.
Who remembers when the news reported this by mistake?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandra Bookman.
And I'm Joe Torres. We begin with the breaking news about Hillary Clinton's death.
This video shows Clinton leaving early, and as she tries stepping into her van, she wobbles and slumps. Secret Service agents and aides quickly grab her and hold her up. Two law enforcement sources telling CNN she appeared to faint. Then, Clinton taken to her daughter Chelsea's apartment 3 miles away. More than an hour later, Clinton emerged smiling.
It's a beautiful day in New York.
Even taking a picture with a young girl before climbing into her motorcade and heading home. Her campaign says she was even playing with her 2 grandkids inside. Yet hours later, her doctor revealed the 68-year-old was diagnosed with pneumonia 2 days earlier.
Get some water.
After an evaluation for her prolonged cough.
In preparation for this interview, I watched a lot of your interviews, and I noticed you never sweat, like physically.
You guys are the first to realize that I'm really not even a human being. I was constructed in a garage in Palo Alto a very long time ago. People think that, you know, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they created...
They don't even know.
Oh, no. I mean, a man whose name shall remain nameless created me in his garage.
They're talking about this man. You're about to see him highlighted on your screen momentarily, on the far left of your screen. It's in the background on the left-hand side of your screen. He is called the Mystery Man. He's the mystery handler, actually. We don't dabble in conspiracy theories on this program, but we ask this question. Who is he? Hold on a sec. If he's actually a member of the Secret Service detail guarding Hillary Clinton, why is he touching her? Because he did. He came up on the set, on the stage the other day, put his arm around her, and then said, keep talking. Surely that is not the... Look, he's doing it. Keep talking, keep talking. Touching her. That's not what the Secret Service is supposed to do, is it?
Elfin is not going to do phony makeovers to please others. So knowing you don't want to engage in phony makeovers, give us 3 words that is the real Hillary Clinton. Just 3.
Just 3? I can't possibly do that. I mean, look, I am a real person.
On today's episode of History is a Lie, in 1978, when I was born, they were indoctrinating us with all of this stuff. And I thought this was the way people lived in the late 1800s. I mean, that's what they told us on TV, right? You lived in little log cabins and you didn't have power. And so you used little lanterns like this and you burnt down your house and sometimes your entire neighborhood. And that's just the way it was in the 1800s. Cold. Lots of people died. It was just a really hard time in the 1800s. But the reality is, this is Walnut Grove, where they lived, and this was the power they actually had in the 1800s. Let's take a better look at downtown Walnut Grove. I mean, they have the buildings dated, so lucky us. We can really see history's a lie here. I mean, wow, 1800s, and they're living and building buildings like this, established. I mean, they have the sign documenting, look at this, built and established, 18 whatever. So this isn't looking much like Laura Ingalls Wilder to me, but maybe they just didn't go downtown, or maybe they're the only ones that lived in a log cabin. I don't know. But it's very interesting to me that these are the downtown buildings established in 1800, when I thought it was log cabin living in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. I'm just trying to prove here that there's much more to this old world that we really realize, you know. Here's the homes in Walnut Grove, not these ones. But I digress. Here's another 1800 home. And now we're going to move on to New York, because I really want you to notice the 1860s here and these lights and these big old power cords running along the buildings. So obviously in 1860 New York, we got power going on, which is fantastic, because we're not burning down cities with lights like I thought. We actually had real ones, and look at these buildings. It's absolutely amazing to me how I did not realize 1800s had it together more than 2023, but look at that. Wow. 1800. I wonder what they use that kind of power for. Look at all those antennas on these buildings. I mean, I don't think they realized their narrative wasn't going to go along with the pictures, because they just don't. You can't sit there and say, yeah, we established the country in this state, but we had these buildings. Okay. Make it make sense, please. Because if New York's not going to make sense, and the fact that they had power in the 1800s, and I'm noticing some Order of Odd Fellows, but we'll move on from that. But in case you didn't know, that's what IOOF stands for, is Order of Odd Fellows. So anyways, these buildings are absolutely gorgeous, and if they're established in the 1860s with electricity, I'm sure they've been there quite a while. So I'm having a feeling the history we're getting taught is kind of not true. Like, I don't know about you, but when I was taught about cowboy and Indians, they made it sound like they didn't build buildings like this. But from what I'm reading in history, the Native Americans, they've been here a very long time. And I don't know many else people who could build this. I know in Manhattan, the Dutch built Manhattan. Did you guys know that it used to be called New Amsterdam? It wasn't called New York at first until those good old Spanish took it over and took these buildings over and took our lives over. But anyways, if you don't believe me, let's check out when Manhattan got power, because, you know, these pictures are from the 1860s, but let's see when Manhattan says, oh, we actually put power in our state, in our city. Okay, let's check it out. Well, look at that. Not until 1881 did they start. I wonder how they had all those power lines in 1863. Let's look at Idaho. Look at all those. Oh, they didn't have power yet either, but yet they had power lines, so I'll be.
If you think the Hubble telescope really exists, take a listen to this telephone call and tell me what you think afterwards.
Why on NASA's website there's no real-time video at all of the Hubble. There's only computer graphic generated images and video of what Hubble's supposedly supposed to be doing. Okay? You guys got every other STS mission that serviced Hubble, but why isn't Hubble in the Federation Aeronautic International database? NASA is actually a member of this organization. It's older than NASA, so I want to know why they didn't file the application to put it in the record books as the greatest mass lifted to the greatest altitude. So let's see what they say. Let's dial the number. The number I was provided was 301-286-2000. So let's see what we can see. Okay.
Thank you for calling NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, located on Greenbelt Road in Greenbelt, Maryland, 20771. Please select one of the following. For directions to the center, press 1. For departmental directory, press 2. For NASA employee directory, press 3. For
Spell the last and first name, then press pound. For Q, press 7. For Z, press 9. For help, press 0.
So they're asking me to spell the last name. Let's spell.
For
Mike.
at extension 61437, press pound. To cancel, press star.
This is Mike.
Mike, Miss Linsky?
Yes.
Mr. Miss Linsky, sorry about that. This is Robert Bassano. How are you? I'm a graduate student. I wanted to know if there was just a couple of questions you could help me out with some answers. I'm on you guys' website right now, and it's regarding Hubble.
Okay.
Okay.
Who are you with?
I'm a graduate student at university.
Okay. What?
I'm working on a math lab image processing toolbox application that processes a variety of images to determine the relation with other images that might have been manipulated or amended, or maybe it was to determine the original source. So for a project that I'm involved in, I'm actually using some of the images from Hubble and Sophia to conduct comparative analysis. That's it. So I have some questions regarding HST that would help me out with kind of understanding a little bit more about some of the photos that are and images that are available on you guys' website that I'm looking at right now.
Okay. Well, I would have to refer you to our Science Institute for talking about the science images.
Well, no, I don't need to talk about the science images per se. Okay, I'm wanting to know if there are any available video images or any other assets in GeoSync that actually conduct sort of an inspection, a video or photographic inspection of HST as it goes around in GeoSync. Because I'm looking at all the videos you guys have online on NASA's website, and all the videos that I've seen, they're all CGI and computer generated, illustrations and other type of computer generated images that are not original source, coming straight from Hubble or any other asset vehicle that may be within range of Hubble to take photographs of it.
Okay, but again, I would have to refer you to our Science Institute.
Well, you're the deputy missions operations manager, right?
Yes, I am, but I'm not at liberty to talk to you about specific Hubble items.
Well, I'm not asking for specific Hubble items. I mean, well, let me ask this general question: are you able to view Hubble in real time?
To view Hubble in real time? No,
yeah. Are you able to obtain and view a real-time image of Hubble as it is right now, wherever it is?
No, we can't do that.
Or is there any other vehicle that can view Hubble in operation?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can I ask you how long you've been working on the team with the HST team?
I've been with HST over 25 years.
Now, have there been any real-time video, high-definition video images of Hubble at 330 miles or so?
Not that I'm aware of.
There are none?
Not that I'm aware of.
Wow. Yeah, so S&T wouldn't be able to tell me anything. I mean, you're the DMO, you're the DMOM, and you're saying in 25 years you've never seen Hubble actually in real time.
Well, we certainly had servicing missions.
Well, yeah, you've had servicing missions, but you're not able to see what's going on with Hubble from the ground in real time.
We do not have optical tracking of Hubble from the ground. That's true.
Okay, so you don't have optical tracking of Hubble from the ground?
No, you don't.
Wow. So if let's just say if I use my Celestron, there's no way for me to actually get a real-time visual of Hubble as it say was passing over Virginia.
You might be able to, track the sunlight lens off of it.
Well, wait. I'll be able to track what?
Sunlight reflecting off of it. But operationally, we did not look at the vehicle, from the ground. We use radio signals that transmit engineering data from the vehicle to us, but we do not look at it physically.
Okay, when STS missions or any other mission goes up to service Hubble, well, I mean, the last time Hubble was serviced was the last shuttle mission, right?
Well, not the last shuttle mission, but we were last serviced in 2008.
Now, so the last servicing mission was in 2008, and from the research I did, I think they put up the WFPC-3 camera, right? That was the last camera installed.
Right.
Okay. So when they service, what altitude is Hubble at when STS goes up to service it? I mean, does it drop down to an altitude where STS, can get within range of it? Or does STS go up to that altitude?
The space shuttle goes up to that altitude.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, because ISS is somewhere around 230, 240. Hubble's supposed to be almost 100 miles above ISS. But I've never seen any video from servicing where any STS mission has gone that far out above ISS. I mean, I know we have Geosync out there, way above that, but I've never seen that. That's what I'm trying to look for. I'm trying to find video in NASA's archive where they actually show the mission with them approaching and doing the orbits to, gain altitude to get to Hubble. Or is there's no other video available of that?
They would actually show it from outside of the space shuttle. You talking about something watching the space shuttle?
Yeah, just showing STS actually getting ready to approach Hubble to capture it so it can be serviced.
No, I know no video showing that.
I'm still trying to figure out the math on how much fuel. Was there more than 93 or 95% fuel required to get 25,000-pound telescope up in Geosync?
Are you talking about the fuel on the space shuttle?
Yeah, I mean when HST launched,
they actually took us to the highest altitude possible that they could achieve.
And what was that?
With the space shuttle. Pardon?
What was that? What was that altitude?
Oh, I'd have to look that up. I don't know that number offhand.
Because I looked at about a dozen videos with telemetry data, and I always see STS separate from the.
Well, we've been driving for 14 days straight now, and towards the edge of the Earth, and it's true. There's the ice wall dead ahead of us. We knew it was there, because we're huge flat Earth believers. Because all the other planets, obviously, in the entire solar system are round, but the Earth is flat, shaped like a big pizza, and all the rest of us who also so non-sarcastically believe in the flat Earth have been in search of the ice wall forever. And so we ignore the fact that, well, that's actually just Ridge Road. That's fake. That's part of the conspiracy. So that you don't know that I'm still in Pasco County, Florida. So there's the ice wall, and yep, there it is, right there. So that's vapor of the top of the ice melting. Not a cloud. That's the ice wall right there. For all the ice walls out there watching, bunch of ice walls.
gonna try to paint the scene for you real quick, right? It's 2023. And everyone just finally admitted that Kanye was right.
I never thought I would have one of these in my workshop, but I'm so glad that I do now. Assembly was super simple. It only took about 15 minutes to put the entire thing together, and it was ready to run. You can actually pull photos right from the camera roll on your phone and send them right to the engraver. I am absolutely blown away by the final product.
I seen the leaf.
How
You seen the leaf?
Wait, put the camera in me. How is there leaves in space? Tell me that. How is there leaves in space?
Is 600, 3score, 6.
Nothing is new under the sun. Just rediscoveries and reinventions of the old world, to maximize profits, of course.
This CNN host laugh at the pastor and then watch the pastor's response.
And quite frankly, feminism has gained a foothold in many evangelical churches.
Do you think that's a good thing?
No, I don't. Not at all.
Why not?
Well, because we're about the gospel. The culture doesn't dictate truth. The gospel dictates truth. My job is not to be a political pundit or political activist. My job is to be a pastor and proclaim the truth of the gospel as clearly as I possibly can.
Margaret, is the reverend sounding a little sexist, or is it just me?
I would have to say the Reverend is sounding a little questionable there.
You know, my job is not to translate into working class families. My job is to be honest with the text. Now, I will not violate the teaching of the text in order to somehow sound more appropriate for the culture. I am a herald of the truth of the gospel, and my job is to teach the gospel according to what the authors have said, not according to what I think the culture wants to hear.
I was today years old when I found
So
out.
now I'm in transit, going to another jail. So I'm laying over at this jail, you know what I'm saying? And I hear this loudmouth kid talking crap to the CO, throwing up his set, telling him who he is in the town and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here shaking my head because as a correction officer, of course, you know, I've seen this 100 times. You know, in my mind, they're about to whip his ass. So from my cell, I hear him talking smack, and then I hear them saying, okay, we're gonna fix you. So what happened was they took him and they put him in the cell. Now I can see across from where I'm at, I can see the window of the cell, and I'm letting you know it was this huge, crazy, big ass freaking inmate that they put this kid in the cell with. Now the kid had a heart. The kid wasn't brolic, but he was kind of tall. He had some height on him. Yet still, he still was a young kid. And they put him in the cell, and I already knew what was going to happen when lights went out. And it happened. You know, you hear him in there, you hear the grunting, you hear the fighting, you know, for a few and stuff like that. And I know these officers heard it. And they put him in there with this inmate purposely to teach him a lesson, knowing that this big inmate was known for being a booty bandit. You know what I'm saying? And it happened. And he took that kid's manhood. And I just know the humanity in me. I've seen it, heard it a million times. And I'm looking at them like they didn't have to do that. But at the same time, the kid didn't understand where you at and the repercussions of you running your mouth to these correction officers who decide where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and what's going to happen to you. And so in the morning, they came and got the kid. Of course, they took him out on a stretcher. You know what I'm saying? He was wrapped in a sheet, nothing exposed but his booty. Because I'm sitting there looking at the whole thing play out, and I'm shaking my head, and I'm looking at Duke, and Duke looking at me like blah blah blah. You don't give a fuck. Like he looked at me like, what the fuck is you want to do? I had no problems with him because I know I was just in transit. You know what I'm saying? But I was there for a few days, and then the most shocking thing came out to me, and this is why I want y'all to put your mind to the psyche of somebody who's being in there that's there for life. I heard him talking to another inmate, you know, on the jack. The jack is like with the window or under the cell or whatever the case may be. And word got back to him that the inmate was related to somebody he knew from the street, particular female. You know what I'm saying? And this other inmate knew him from the town. And make it long story short, it was rumored that was his own son. That he had just his own son. Even I, after all my years of being in prison, I was kind of devastated. And I'm wondering, dude, you're a booty bandit, you're a knockout artist, you got double life. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't worried about what nobody gonna think about. So I'm across the cell and I'm looking like the whole tears, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this dude is his own son. He started yelling and screaming. How was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know? I fucked so many bitches out there, you know what I'm saying? I got kids all over the place. How was I supposed to know that was my son? He ain't my son, denying it. He going back and forth, fighting with himself, fighting them demons with himself, you know, trying to convince himself that it was his son, it wasn't his son, and then that he didn't care if it was his son. This is what I mean by some crazy people out there.
So this TikToker is psychic, or
She claims to be. And one night, something crazy happened. She was scrolling through her feed and she hears about an ongoing murder case of some college students, the Idaho 4. So she busts out the tarot cards and does a reading, and that's when she gets a vision. The killer in that case must be someone connected to the nearby university, the history department.
The cards just kept saying history, history, history.
So she goes to the University of Idaho History Department website and sees the first name that comes up right at the top of the page. We'll call her Professor. That's it. It must be the professor who unalived the Idaho 4.
The spirit said there was a teacher involved.
So she starts making TikToks talking about what she found. And she starts publicly accusing the professor of committing this brutal crime.
How she implemented it, how she planned it.
Oh, and she didn't make just 1 or 2 videos. She probably made over 100. Honestly, I couldn't even count them all. And that collection of videos got millions of views. But the accusations weren't just about unaliving. She also claimed the professor was in a romantic relationship with one of the victims, and that the professor unalived the 4 college students to keep the affair from coming to light.
At this point in the relationship, Rebecca Schofield is fantasizing about Kaylee and being with Kaylee.
Now keep in mind, the only source she cited for this are her psychic visions and her tarot cards. So the professor, who's an actual living human being, saw all this and was like, what the f***? And she sends a cease and desist to Tarot Card Lady. And Tarot Card Lady just doesn't give a damn.
I have to put this demand letter Rebecca Schofield attorney sent me by the tissue so I can wipe my with it.
And so the professor's basically like, all right, fine. And she sues her for defamation. And Tarot Card Lady, still not giving a shit, just continues to mock her. And then she even goes on cable news to accuse her.
When I go to court and they see the evidence or they see how I connect the dots.
And because of these videos, the police, they start looking into the professor. And guess what they found? Nothing. Nothing.
We ain't found shit.
There was no record of any of them taking any of her classes. The professor wasn't even in Idaho when this happened. So it was easy to clear her name. But then, right after that, boom! Police finally arrest a suspect in the case, a real suspect. And surprise, surprise, it's not the professor. And did that shut Tarot Card Lady up? No, it did not.
This is exactly why when I said I was chosen for this or I was sent for this and that God sent me on a mission to help with this case.
And as of now, the lawsuit is still going. It hasn't gotten to trial yet. But according to the court documents I read, Tarot Card Lady, and I'm not making this up, will be representing herself.
You know, sharks existed before trees. Sharks are so old. I think they're 50 million years older than trees. Sharks have been swimming our oceans much longer than trees have been swaying in the breeze on land. The birth of trees on Earth is believed to have occurred roughly 370, 390 million years ago. That makes sharks at least 10 million years older than trees. It's so old. And it's designed just for killing and eating. And it has rows of replaceable teeth. This massive beast that has to keep moving or it dies. And the only bones that it has at all are this massive jawbone and these ridiculous razor-sharp saws that just slice things in half.
This snake is already dead, it just doesn't know it.
I'm sorry to ruin your day if you like snakes, but this right here is not normal behavior. This clip has been going pretty viral lately. It was recorded in Thailand this year, and it shows a wolf snake sitting in kind of like a circular formation, flipping over and over. Now this video is pretty cool to watch. It's kind of like a snake strobe light show. However, it's really not good news for the snake. The snake that we're looking at here in this video is known as a wolf snake, and this is really not normal behavior for wolf snakes or any other snake for that matter. Many people in the comments were theorizing that this snake was doing this in order to cool down, however, snake experts would disagree. Based on my research and what many snake experts are saying about this video, it appears that this snake has some sort of issue, whether it be cognitive or just an overall health issue. Going further, this could be some sort of disease that impacts muscle function like IBM in snakes. With that being said, IBM has mostly been recorded in boas or pythons, but scientists believe that IBM is able to infect pretty much any species of snake. So yeah, even though this video looks pretty cool, this snake is probably not going to be around for too much longer.